Welcome to LezPod. You are here, my friends, because you believe in the LGBTQ plus community and the importance of sharing our individual stories to help impact one another. The goal of the show is to introduce you to people and ideas that are going to help motivate you to pursue your passions and believe in yourself. Okay? My name is Alexandria Friedlander, and I'm here to introduce you to remarkable people who have helped shift the world we live in today. Today's guest is Maxx Fenning. He is the owner and creator of PRISM. PRISM is the correct terminology?
That is correct.
PRISM,
yes.
Which is out there to help the LGBTQ youth. And I'm going to actually let him share a whole bunch of information about it. But help me welcome Maxx to the show. Woo! Yeah. Well, welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here. Very excited.
I'm very excited to have you here. So, I do want to share with the audience that, you did, I'm gonna let you take the mic because, your story's what we're here for. But Maxx, started PRISM when he was 17 years old. He is, can I say your age now?
Oh, yeah.
He is now 19 years old. I'm sitting next to a 19-year-old achiever. Like, that is greatness. And I hope that this message that we're about to share with you inspires you, impacts you, and motivates you to get up and do something to help the community. Okay? Because Maxx is sitting right next to me, and tomorrow he's going to Tallahassee to fight for us. But I'll let him tell you about that. So tell me a little bit about PRISM. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with the concept, what inspired it.
Sure. So PRISM actually started as a high school club. I was the vice president and then president of my high school's GSA. We really thought that we could really do with an extra space for LGBT youth on campus. Our GSA was really serving as kind of a social sphere. We really wanted something that was really getting out there with activism and education. We needed a dedicated space for that. And we were a high school club for about a year, and then we decided to expand out into the community. The nonprofit sort of idea had always been sort of this far off thing, and then we kind of just decided, why not do it now? And so we did.
Nice.
And PRISM Boca High became PRISM FL Inc. And we incorporated in March of 2020, so right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow, what a challenging time to start something.
But I think that at the time, it was really early in the pandemic, so much that we were kind of that mindset of like, oh yeah, there's just like a long spring break.
Oh yeah,
it's just like a
I remember that.
By Pride Month when everything's like popping, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
2 years
2 years later, exactly, and that is not quite the case. So once we realized how long term that was going to be, we originally had this idea of being our only frame of reference for what a nonprofit could be, were some of the frankly amazing nonprofits that we have seen before, like Listen, and then local organizations like Compass, and then a GSA sort of model. And that was sort of what we were looking to do, and frankly, that wouldn't have been very impactful because those things are already being done. They're already being done, phenomenally, but their services are already being provided. And once we realized how long term this was going to be, we decided to pivot pretty hard and really utilize the fact that we are not only a youth serving organization, but we're also a youth led organization that has like a lot of technical know-how and digital know-how and understanding of how young people engage online.
Give me an example.
So, the way in which, we're seeing more and more that young people are, an increasing number of Americans don't have cable TV anymore.
True.
And they're not getting it from TV news a lot of the time. They're not getting their information from print newspapers or anything like that. More and more young people are getting their information from social media. And there's unique ways in which young people communicate on social media where you can, I modify the way that I that I engage in social media, depending on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to someone that's my age, the way that I'm texting and the emojis that I'm using and the way that I'm phrasing things are very, very different from the way that I would frame it if I was like texting like, you know, one of my colleagues, you know, that, you know, one of my you know, colleagues in other nonprofits that are generally like in their 50s, 60s.
Right.
There's different ways that I engage with that because someone of that age is not necessarily going to understand if I use like a smiley face emoji, that's not necessarily me actually smiling, or, you know, things like that.
So you cater to your audience.
Yeah, and so there's like unique ways in which young people communicate that only young people really understand.
Correct.
And being able to be in on that, right, is so much more impactful in providing that information right where young people are. It's also just something that a lot of LGBT you know organizations aren't really doing, or aren't heavily utilizing a sort of digital sphere in the way that they can be, and the way that they have the potential to. And so we're really you know, coming into the forefront of that, of reaching young people quite literally where they are, which is online.
Amazing. And so what's the progress that you've had so far with that?
So we were reaching about 35,000 people a month on Instagram. You know, we have you know, really strong like site traffic, and we get lots of people that are accessing our resources on our website, on our social media, and learning all about gender and sexuality and LGBT history and sexual health.
Yeah, you're an educator.
Exactly, and you know, in a way that they would never be able to get this information otherwise, at least not as readily, and in a way that they can understand and process, and that speaks to them in the way that they're engaging with and communicating with people online. And that's really unique in that way, and I think that's what's been really impactful for young people, you know, viewing all of that.
Right.
Now I say we were because recently on January 6th, cursed day, obviously, our Instagram was taken down. And
what was the reasoning behind that? I mean, did they give you a...
No, they did not.
Really?
No, they didn't. You know, I was just...
Shame on you, Instagram.
Exactly. I was just using the app because I and our social media leader are both logged in, and I was just, you know, using, you know, on the app. And we get this pop-up, and it's like, you know, we detected some suspicious activity on your account, and then, you know, or something like that, and then, you know, verify your phone number. So we did, and then it says, oh, well, we'll get back to you within 24 hours. I was going on my personal account, so, you know, because I couldn't log in to that one, but I was going on my personal account to look at our post that we had made for like Cervical Health Awareness Month.
Right.
And the account was nowhere to be found. It's like, that's weird. It's just,
man.
It's not there. So I go to log in again, and it says, your account was deactivated for violating our community guidelines. For more information about how you meet your account, here's a link. And then it has this whole automated process that we went through a few times actually over the course of the next few weeks. And then finally, after the third time, we were just locked out of using the system, and we couldn't even go through the verification, you know, whatever process anymore.
Wow, I'm so sorry that happened.
And there's no direct support line. There's no direct
there isn't.
to email, or phone or anything like that. We were recently, thankfully, actually able to get connected with someone who works at Meta and handles the support stuff. They are opening a case to investigate.
Good.
And that like just happened like a couple days ago. So, crossing your fingers that we can get the original account back. You know, we made a second account too, and it was deactivated within 30 minutes.
Are you kidding me? I thought I just saw...
But we were able to get it back about a week ago. So we're back on Instagram. You know,
come on, guys, the gays aren't going anywhere.
We're queer. We're here to stay.
We are staying.
It's PRISM.LGBT.
Okay.
And so we'll be using that for the foreseeable future. If in some way, shape, or form, it winds up being more successful than the original one. Even if we do get the original one back, we might just keep using the new one.
Yeah.
But you know, we're still hoping to get the original account back, and all of those people following us. You know, it's hard to be able to get people who are originally finding that you know, educational material on our original account to the other one. We don't really have a good way to, you know, to let them know, hey,
Right.
we're still here, we're on this new account because we can't let them know.
Right. Well, they're here, we're queer, and we're staying, all right? So PRISM, is it PRISM.LGBT?
Mm-hmm. That's
So I'll put that on the edit. But PRISM, at PRISM.LGBT. Go follow, go support, show love, send them hugs and kisses, okay? And yeah, we need to get that following back up. You deserve it.
We do, and it's really important stuff that that again just isn't being done outside of our work. So.
But that's a beautiful thing that you're doing that. You know, you're educating, you're helping the community, you're providing resources that not everyone knows where to get them from. You know, that's cool. And you're only 19. Like, when I was 19, I didn't give a shit about anything but doing drugs and, like, you know, doing the wrong thing and discovering myself. Like, you are changing the world.
I try.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, and it helps that I have the privilege of being able to, like, live with my parents right now. I have the privilege of, you know, getting financial aid, not having to take out student loans. Like, I get the privilege of all of those different things that enable me to do this work. And I'm not sure that I would have been able to do everything that I can do. Not that I don't try. You know, I work hard. You know, and I've worked hard for everything that I've done. But it's that has enabled me to get so far at this age. And that's my thing, is I always see, you know, people who are, you know, obviously I'm continuously coming into contact with people who are older than me. And it's weird because people are older than me, but, like, also my peers.
Right.
Because, like, they're my peers, but they're 20 years older than me.
Yeah.
Which is, like, an interesting dynamic. But I see a lot of people who are like, well, I never did that when I was 19, and, like, you know, whatever. And they're like, well, I feel like it's too late. And that's something that I hear all the time, are people who are like, you know, I think that it's too late for me to do this, or I think my time has passed, and, like, you know, if I was able to have everything that I have now when I was 19, I would have been able to do everything that you're doing, yada yada yada. But there is no like moment at which you have, like, passed. I hate the idea of, like, people. You know, and obviously I'm only 19, but I hate the idea of like people being past their prime. Correct. Or that people
give up.
Yeah, that people feel like, oh, well, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm whatever. average American lifespan is like low, like it's late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
You have decades left.
Yeah.
You know, and if you were to give up, like, that's 30 more years. What are you going to do with it? You have so much time, and I hate, you know, people go to college late, people start their careers late, people shift careers late, and
they learn different tools.
Exactly, and that's my thing, is, like, I've been able to do this, you know, partly because I have all of these privileges, but there is no point at which it is too late for people to start doing work that I've done or work that they want to do. It's just that, like, spark and that push.
I gotta have it.
I like to say that everything that a lot of the things that I decided to do, the initial spark came at a moment's notice, but it was a matter of, like, taking that, seeing that opportunity to do that thing, and then going for it and doing it, and then putting my all into it and investing in that, and seeing the potential in that. Had I not taken those sparks, you know, when I started, when I, you know, became the vice president of my GSA, I just came to a meeting randomly. I was like, this might be fun, and they just happened to be just getting people to sign up for elections. I said, why not? I'll do it. I ran. I became the vice president, and I kicked ass.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. I kicked ass.
Nice.
And then president next year, and then, you know, now the president of a 501c3 organization. None of that would have happened. My life would be on a completely different trajectory. I would have probably still been studying computer science, because I recently changed majors. I would probably still be studying computer science, wanting to work for some, like, capitalist like Google, or I don't know, something, slaving away. And my life would be completely different had I not gone to that GSA meeting that one day. And it's crazy to think, like, those are those opportunities, or if I'd gone to that GSA meeting and I'd been like, I don't really feel like that, I don't think I'm ready to do that. Had I not Had I gone that way, had I not had that spark, had I not pushed myself towards that, my entire life would be different. And it's a matter of taking those opportunities. So.
Yes, and thank you for sharing all of that, because a big goal of my podcast is to encourage and inspire people to get up and do. It's uncomfortable, it's out of our comfort zone, it's different, we're scared, we've never done it before. But if you don't try and do things outside of your comfort zone, first of all, you're not going to discover yourself the way that you should. In my personal opinion, you can make an impact. Like you can make an impact, and you might think that you can't. But, he's making an impact, and it's because he chose to put in the work. He chose to put in the effort. You have to keep moving forward in life. And I know of I can't remember the name of the creator of this. Well, anyway, I read something that a 70-year-old came out with a vodka, became a millionaire. So just what you said, there is no restriction on age limit.
Right.
It's up to you. Put in the work or complain.
Right.
Right. Do something, or it's up to you, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, and that's my thing, is I always have this feeling that like people look at me, and there's this combination of feelings, because people look at me and they feel inspired, right? They feel hopeful, they feel look at our future, but then there's also sometimes this feeling of like, I wish I had been able to do that. I wish I had, and sort of like this almost like this feeling of people sometimes feel failure when they see me. Which
but that's their own shit.
Exactly. And it's a matter of, in addition to being this inspiring force and doing all the work that I'm doing, is also recognizing that at all ages there's all of this potential, and I'll be damned if I let my phenomenal amazingness discourage someone else because they feel like, oh, this person's doing all of this at this age and it's too late for me, because that person is equally capable of doing some amazing things at 40, at 50, at 60, at 70, however old they are.
Tell them.
Exactly. At any age, there is so much potential to be doing the work, making the impact that I make, making even more of an impact than I've already made. And the last thing that I want to do is be a thing that makes people feel like they're too late, because there is no too late to be doing the work that I'm doing. So.
There's never too late. As long as blood's pumping and you're waking up every day, there's always an opportunity. We're just gonna cut for one quick second. I just want to double check the camera. If that's
sure.
Okay. Sorry guys, 1 second behind the scenes. Lucky you. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Yes, drink your water. Very good. Doing pretty good actually. Very awesome. Beautiful.
My right foot fell asleep.
What?
So my right foot fell asleep. I was hooking it around here.
Oh, really? Okay, let me just put this on real quick so I have some color. That was a cut, by the way. Just making sure I remember.
Self-cues.
When I'm, yeah, I don't like this chapstick as much. All right, you guys still with us? You hanging out? You enjoying it? It's fun over here. Okay, so let's cue back. So Max, tell me about what you're doing tomorrow.
So, those who don't know, there is, I have not seen any news headlines within the past month. There is a bill moving its way through the Florida House and the Florida Senate, being nicknamed the Don't Say Gay bill. It's the Parents' Bill of Rights.
What is the actual
It's
terminology?
Parents' Bill of Rights.
Parents' Bill of Rights. Okay.
The articles might be moved around there.
Yeah.
It's the Parents' Bill of Rights. Nicknamed the Don't Say Gay Bill. Why?
Oh, so that's the nickname.
Yes, they didn't actually call it the Don't Say Gay Bill because that would have been an extra slap in the face. They like to give it like nice, clean, proper names.
Of course, the political.
It's parents' rights because that feels more like positive than don't say gay. But at the end of the day, that's basically what it is. We have this history of no promo homo laws. Lots of them came about in like the 80s. The peak of the AIDS epidemic, that prohibit like discussions of same-sex relationships or gender and sexuality in schools, and this is basically the new face of no promo homo laws. Just in like a nice neat little package with a little bow and ribbon hiding this monster inside the box. That is this Don't Say Gay Bill. And basically, what it aims to do in the name of, again, quote unquote, parents' rights, is it bans discussions of gender and sexuality in primary school, and also in all public school that isn't developmentally appropriate. That wording is vague on purpose.
Wow.
It lets them say, because we already have this perception, or a lot of straight people have this perception that if you're talking about gender and sexuality, you're automatically talking about sex, which is obviously not true.
Correct.
But because they have that vague wording of like developmentally inappropriate, they can say, oh, you're talking about the Stonewall riots, that has to do with drag queens, or that has to do with anything relating to the LGBT community, and that means you're talking about sex, and that's not appropriate for like middle school. When that's just a piece of history and fighting for rights.
Exactly.
And so they can easily apply that. It's so vague that they can easily apply that, and to say that most if not all discussions about LGBT topics are about sex and therefore inappropriate. And then again, it completely bans it for primary school. So I'm going up to Tallahassee. I've actually never lobbied for or against any piece of legislation before. But I'm going up to Tallahassee as part of a delegation with AHF and Safe Schools South Florida to lobby against and testify against this Don't Say Gay Bill.
Let's go.
Let's go. 7-hour bus ride tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah.
But I'm stoked. I'm excited to be able to really speak on this thing that is so like blatantly homophobic and detrimental and shake things up.
Yeah, they're taking away everything we've fought for to be where we are today.
Exactly, and then it's this sort of like catch-22, if you will, or this sort of between a rock and a hard place, more so, where you have this bill, which if it passes again would ban discussions of gender and sexuality in primary schools and potentially all public school in general, and then you have things like the Earn It Act, which could also potentially lead to huge over moderation and censorship of LGBT topics online.
Wow.
And it comes into this like this again between a rock and a hard place of if you can't provide these resources at schools and you can't provide it online, where can these queer youth find these resources?
Correct.
And it makes that it makes a barren wasteland for those resources, which is part of the reason that we're starting a new social media campaign relating to the fact that our Instagram was taken down.
Right.
So it's called Save PRISM.
Love it.
Hashtag Save PRISM.
Hashtag Save PRISM. Okay.
And basically the way that it works is we're encouraging folks to use the hashtag, use hashtag Save PRISM to share a post about either how PRISM has impacted them, a social media platform refusing to take down homophobic or racist content or harassment, or their content being taken down just because it talks about race or queer topics. for every time that someone uses that hashtag, again, hashtag Save PRISM, to share any story about any of that, we have a growing list of businesses, organizations, and individuals who will donate $1 to our mission to keep South Florida for every color for everyone. That goes straight, right back into providing all of those resources that are so needed about gender and sexuality and LGBT history and sexual health, but also into more discussions on queer censorship and how we combat that in a real and tangible way.
Yes.
So.
That's amazing.
And what's great about this is the amount of ways in which there are to contribute. It takes a lot of the same format of, I don't know if you remembered the Ellen, where everyone was like, tell a story about how much Ellen sucks and we'll donate $1 to whatever. It's the kind of a format like that.
Yeah.
But what it aims to do, with the format, is it creates so many ways to contribute, because if you're able to make a pledge of whatever amount you're comfortable with,
right?
That can be $10, that can be $20, that can be 100, 200, 300, whatever people are capable of. You can make that pledge. But then also, if you're not able to do that either way, you can also, if you've been impacted by our organization or you've been discriminated against by a social media company, you have another way to contribute there as well, because just by posting, you're raising however much money, depending on how many people we have pledging.
Right, because of the awareness.
Yeah, exactly. And we have currently, and we're only like a week and a half in. This goes until March 29th, by the way.
Okay.
We have, I believe, 8 people pledging so far, and that's just in that first week.
That's awesome.
Which means that
let's get it up to like 100,
exactly.
Right, guys?
And if we have 100 people pledging, that means that every single one of those posts, it's just a post talking about your experience being discriminated against, or a post talking about how our organization has impacted you. You've raised $100 making one post.
Wow.
And that's what's crazy about it is if that, if and when that scales up, right, with more people pledging and more people posting, every single post, that's $100. That could be $100. Either just now, we already know that for every single post, every single one of those posts has raised $8, and that's just the people that have pledged this first week.
Come on, guys, you gotta help out.
Exactly.
Please help out. Just post.
It is crazy, and for folks who want to make a pledge themselves, and again, that can be whatever, and you just set it aside within the next 2 months, right? Because it's still March 29th.
Yeah.
And that's when we tally it all up. We tally it up on March 29th. We'll let the people who pledge know how many shares we got. If you want to make a pledge of any amount, a cap, we call it, you can go to our site. It's www.prismfl.org/SavePrism. And you can and learn how you can make a pledge yourself, how you can share, and a lot more information about also the situation about the Instagram and get updates on that as well.
That's beautiful. Share, post,
yes, exactly.
Donate, show Max love. Come on, let's change the world together, because we can do it. We can do it. I do want to ask, what's something that you wish you could see more in the LGBT community?
Intersectionality is the biggest, and I'm grateful that at least in the past few years there has been a little bit of a bigger focus on intersectionality and really having discussions about the experiences of people of color within the LGBT community, and those disparities that affect people in all realms. What is so great about PRISM is how much we focus on that. When we say, our slogan, our motto is "For every color, for everyone," that's not just a riff on the rainbow. That's also specifically about people of color and making sure that we're keeping an intersectional focus and an intersectional lens, and prioritizing that as a major component of the work that we do. We have a lot of Latinx folks in PRISM, and I've heard time and time again people saying, a lot of them saying, I come from a super Catholic household, and when I go into, in my family life or in my local community, I'm discriminated against based on my gender, my sexuality, and I can't talk about that freely. But then when I go into queer spaces, when I go into LGBT spaces, I still feel at odds because I'm the one person of color in a sea of a bunch of white people. Yeah. And that's so, like, it makes you feel out of place. It makes you feel so uncomfortable. And
we need to change that.
And I've heard a lot of folks that say, but I came to PRISM and I felt, and it was different, and it is different, and I feel so comfortable being able to not only be affirmed in my gender or my sexuality, but also as a Latinx person or a Black person or API within within that queer space, and that's been so impactful for people.
That's beautiful.
I want to see more of that.
You want to see more of that?
Exactly.
So let's get together, guys. Hit up Maxx. If you're feeling like you want to be a part of a community, you want to be a part of something, you feel left out, he's the guy to talk to. He really is. He's not hard to find. He's on social media.
I'm on it all.
He's on it all, and he's killing the game. And tomorrow he's about to, you are fighting for our rights tomorrow. Like, this is really exciting.
And I'm revved up. I'm riled up. All you gotta do is get me mad.
Yeah.
You want me to shake things up? All you gotta do is get me mad about something, and I'm ready to rumble.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, what are you mad at?
This bill and the fact that we see all of these things that are generally so widely supported in our country, abortion. Right, it's over 70% of Americans, are opposed to overturning Roe versus Wade. Meanwhile, in our Supreme Court, we see that the way that things have sort of shaken out, even though it didn't really just happen by chance.
Right.
That this could be overturned this year, same-sex marriage. We've already heard politicians in Texas and other states that have talked about, that they don't think that Obergefell was the right decision, that they thought it should be up to states, and that they would prohibit same-sex marriage if Obergefell was overturned.
Wow.
All of these things that we feel so comfy in, but same-sex marriage has only been legalized federally for 6 years now.
Yeah.
But we feel so comfy in it. And we should not, because
because it could be taken away from us.
These things are still being coming under attack, and we're able to sort of like distance ourselves when it's not right in front of our face, and because we're not really paying attention, because we're not looking at these things, because this is happening so far away, whether it be in time or space. This thing is happening so far away that it's not my problem. And then until it's on your front doorstep, until it's happening in your state or in your community, or in your home, and we cannot let that spread to our doorstep. And
we've worked too hard.
Exactly, and it's so frustrating seeing the way that this is able to be framed as in the name of parents' rights, and that's such BS. And the main reason for that is when we think about who school is for, right? School is not for parents. At the end of the day, school is for children. School is for the future that children are going to create.
Correct.
And it's not for parents. So it is not our responsibility to protect parents if that's going to harm children. If that's going to harm LGBT children, the children with same-sex parents, that is who this is going to harm if it passes, and those are the people that it is our responsibility to protect. In a government, as educators, that is the responsibility, and to see that being left out. And we know why it's happening, right? We know it's because the people that are going to be re-electing these people, are not the children.
Right.
They're parents. The people who are paying the taxes that are funding these schools are not the children. They're parents. So at the end of the day, who are they going to listen to? Parents. But who is school really for, and who should they be listening to? It's the kids, it's children, it's students. So, and that's what's so frustrating about it.
Wow, yeah, it's so true. Well, I wish you the best tomorrow. I hope that you kill it. I know you're going to. Last question before we end the podcast. What is the ultimate legacy that you'd like to leave behind?
You know, I think that part of the way that I go about life, and maybe this is just because I'm so much younger, but part of the way that I go about life is this understanding that the world that I'm in now is not the world that I'm going to be in 30 years.
I like that.
The problems of today are not the problems of 30 years from now. Some of them will have a through line, but there's going to be a lot of different problems to tackle. And it's hard to say these are all of the things that I want to do, because it is a normal part of life for your goals to change. It is a normal part of life not to sell yourself short, not to bring your goals down, but to look at what's going on in the world, look what's going on in your life, and say, that was a really important problem at that moment, but this is what's taking priority right now, and being able to let go of the things that aren't important anymore, in an effort to sort of like shed your skin and grow into something even more impactful for the day. And that's what's so important, is being able to be dynamic, being able to treat shifting your priorities not as failure, but as optimization, as making yourself the most impactful, powerful person that you can be. That's the life that I want to lead, is someone who can shed my skin and not treat that as letting myself down, treat that as growing into someone new.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you, I try.
That was really great. And any last message that you want to share with our audience?
Well, first and foremost, please call your representatives and senators, and if you live in the state of Florida, and tell them to vote no on this Parents' Bill of Rights, because oh my God. But also, I want people to understand their how much potential and capacity they have, no matter where they are, and seize that day. I know it sounds cliche, but seize that day and do what you feel is going to be most impactful in your life.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.